everyone, and welcome to the 46th episode of Slime Time, the official Dragon Quest Dragon's Den podcast. This is Plattym3.
And this is Liamland. So this episode we're going to be talking about some Dragon Quest literature, and I have to say, as a student of literary criticism, I'm looking forward to discussing our interpretations from a pragmatic, psychological, and theoretical perspective.
Sure. Is that even right?
Yes. I believe it was the Elizabethan author Shaka Spire who once said...
Whoa. Excuse me. Who? You're talking Shakespeare, right?
Well, no. Shaka Spire. Have you not heard of him?
No. Hold on. Step back. It's Shakespeare. Always has been, always will be. Shakespeare, right?
Well, I've never known him to go by that name, but they do say Shaka Spire may not have written all of his plays.
I don't think Shaka Spire wrote any plays. But, that's beside this point because we're not going that far into literary criticism. We'll just cut this short and say we're going to focus on Dragon Quest literature. Hopefully, like 20th century stuff. Because, we don't need to get into the old stuff. Wisdom comes with fewer words.
Ah, yes. I believe the Greek philosopher Testicles once said that.
Mm-hmm. Sure he did. And on that note, don't got Testicles tonight, but we do have a couple guests with us. We have Alexis and Hiru. Welcome to the party.
Hey there. It's so nice to be here with you today.
Likewise.
Excellent. Yes?
Sorry, yes, likewise. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. We're excited to have you here today. I mean, we're recording from 3 different continents, although I think, Liam, we've gotten used to that over the past year. But it's always pretty exciting that we're all over the place. Love of Dragon Quest knows no one
bounds.
Continent.
Yeah.
Correct. And we're going to show that it also knows no bounds on formats either, because we're not talking about a game. I think we've talked about plenty of translations of games, but we've never done this before. Because today on Slime Time, we're going to be talking about 2 ambitious translation efforts. We've got Dragon Quest Item Monogatari, specifically the chapter on the Sword of Kings, and the Legend of Rubiss Volume 1, In a Distant Eden. But before we start getting specifically into those pieces of literature, let's get to know our guests. And Alexis, we'll start with you first and kind of flip-flop between you guys on these questions that we have here. Alexis, we were joking before the podcast. We've got you as Louis McDuck. We've got you as Ziggy on the Den. Hiru was saying you're known as everything everywhere. What's with your usernames? Anywhere else you lurk around with other names or identities?
Yes, actually. On the French website Dragon Quest Fan, I'm known as Dark with Alex, which is the pseudonym I had on a French MMO a while back, Dofus, for those who might know it. Louis McDuck is maybe, I think, the latest one I got, which I took soon after I finished watching the newest version of DuckTales. Ziggy is from Xigbar, because I was once a Kingdom Hearts fan, and Xigbar was my favorite of them all. And which one was the last one again? Gumball Bunnybell is both from The Amazing World of Gumball, which I absolutely adore, and also from Adventure Time. It's the gender bender version of Princess Bubblegum, if I'm not mistaken.
That's quite the collection.
He actually has an explanation for each one of them.
He does. That's
always.
Every now and then, usually we get people like, I don't know, it was a bunch of letters. It was back, in 1997, we were on AOL, and that's what fit. So Hiru, what about you?
No, mine hasn't really a story behind it. It's just the shortened version of a sentence. Iru no Oshi just means midday star. That's it.
Nice.
Cool. So how did you originally get into the Dragon Quest series?
So I've been lucky enough to have Dragon Quest 3 as my first proper experience with the series. And I say lucky enough because I'm sure you're aware of it, but here in Europe, we didn't get most of the games released until they actually decided to promote the series with the advent of Dragon Quest VIII on PlayStation 2 back in 2006, I believe. Mm-hmm. And the version I played was the Game Boy one, which I loved to bits and still treasure as one of the greatest games I've ever played, honestly.
Awesome.
Then I had to wait until Dragon Quest VIII was out to actually being able to double dip. I loved that one as well. Decided to play all of them, thanks to the remakes on Nintendo DS following the release soon after. And that's also when I really started falling in love with the mood of the localization work for Dragon Quest, the quirkiness, the dialects, the humor, the balance between all these elements. It was just so unique and incredibly appealing to me.
It
how about you
definitely
here?
Has its uniqueness.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Lexi, how did you get into the Dragon Quest series?
Well, my first memory of Dragon Quest in France was the 8th one on PlayStation 2, which I used to watch a friend playing it whenever I went to his home. And because I didn't have a PlayStation 2, I had to wait for Dragon Quest 4 on the DS to buy it. Mm-hmm. And what surprises me is that I actually had Dragon Quest 4, 5, 6, 9, and Joker on my shelves at home, and I had to wait for Dragon Quest Builders 1 to be released to really get into Dragon Quest and to kind of binge play them all, at least all those I could play. And yes, I'd say I really got into Dragon Quest with Builders.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll stay with you, Alexi. Kind of keep flip-flopping here. What would you say is your favorite games in the series, both mainline and the spin-offs? What are a couple of your favorites?
Well, that's easy. Favorite game, Dragon Quest game is the 7th, on mostly the 3DS one because I haven't played yet the PSX version. And my favorite spin-off might be just Builders 2.
I'll tell you what, 7's up there on my list, and Builders 2 is one heck of a game. That is
Yep.
It especially you guys are on the Discord with us, and that is something that we have a lot of people that do some creative stuff with that. So, Hiru, what are some of your favorite games? What are your favorite spin-offs, if you've played them?
I actually warned you about asking me this question, if you remember.
That's okay. We got time.
So I find it really difficult to give you a proper answer because I know for sure my top picks are Dragon Quest 3, 10, and 11, but the way I actually rank them changes almost on a daily basis. Like today I might tell you Dragon Quest 3 deserves to be my favorite entry overall because of what it stands for on a personal level, the improvements for the series that came with it, and also the inspiration for other series that came much later and I share some ties with, like Etrian Odyssey would be one, just to name one, that I'm very close to. You like it?
Oh, I've played them all, yes.
That makes me so happy.
I'm excited that Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming out because...
Don't even mention it.
That director was one of... The director for that game has been doing Etrian Odyssey for a while.
Yes,
so
yes.
Maybe he's freed up to go back and we'll get another Etrian Odyssey now.
I really hope so.
I mean, I know there's other people that work on that game too, but it's kind of interesting how he's doing that and we haven't had an Etrian Odyssey in 3 years
in a
or so.
very long time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So,
sorry, go ahead, Platy.
Oh, nope. I was going to say, go right ahead.
Do you guys have any favorite or least favorite characters or monsters? Here, let's start with you.
As far as characters are concerned, well, Serena is probably an obvious one, I think. I just love their personal journey throughout the game. She felt very relatable as, quote-unquote, the slow one who is unable to catch up with the prodigy in the family and then ends up realizing that maybe she has to follow her own path in life. So she becomes this very strong, reliable person. And that's amazing.
Mhm.
Also, Sylvando is an incredible character, especially the Sylvando that is portrayed by Shai Mathewson. I feel it just owns the part of Sylvando, honestly.
Yeah, most definitely. So in terms of Serena, are you an Act 1 and 3 Serena hair or Act 2 Serena hair person?
Ooh, I would go for Act 1, maybe. Seems about right, yeah. Long hair owns.
Long hair?
Yeah.
Platty and I are both short hair Serena fans.
Oh, no.
Oh, no?
I like this. I like the skill loadout of Act 2.
Okay, all right.
Throw that out.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So you're talking like sage powers,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yes.
specifically hair. Okay. All right, Alexi, how about you?
Make sure that got clear there.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Sorry, I was probably talking over you. Alexi, what are your favorite characters or monsters?
Monsters, I'd say that I absolutely love the entire Restless Armor family, because I think there's something really charming and a bit haunting about them, like empty hammers walking around. Yeah, it's nice. Kind of love also the fencing fox, I think they're called in English. The one looks like musketeers. As for favorite or least favorite characters, I'd say I really love most of the cast from Dragon Quest VI. I absolutely love Alina, of course, from Dragon Quest IV. An obvious choice, I think. I think my personal favorite might be Maribel from the 7th game. And my least favorite characters, I think, is Angelo from the 8th.
Yeah, I can see that. He's not written as a very good guy for quite a bit of it. He's got some character growth near the middle and end, but no, he's definitely quite the jerk. Quite a bit of that. All right, so we'll start again with you, Alexi, here. Okay. What are some of the favorite mechanics that you like in Dragon Quest games? What keeps you bringing you back? Is it like monster collecting, job classes, casinos, or pretty much anything else, building? What are the things that you really enjoy in your Dragon Quest?
I'd say job classes. Again, I used to be a huge Final Fantasy fan, and I absolutely love Final Fantasy Tactics. And I wish Dragon Quest Tact had more of this aspect of the tactical aspect of the game. But yes, I love the job classes and the way you can, kind of mix them all together. Monster collecting is nice, but mostly in Dragon Quest V, to me, it kind of took away place and development for characters, I think. And monster collecting is nice in the Monsters game, to me. As for casinos, I never had any luck in any of them, so I try to... for real, I've been playing since the 4th on DS, and I can remember for sure that I never had any actual jackpot with all the 7 in a row. And I just stopped at some point. I gave up.
That's probably for the best.
Yes.
If it isn't coming, it's all right. There's plenty of other weapons and stuff you can buy everywhere else. All right. Hiru, what about you? What are your favorite things about Dragon Quest games?
Yeah, that's interesting because for 1 second, the opinion on the job and class system, and this might sound like some sort of a confession. Anyone who knows me, I feel, makes fun of me for the prowess and science I usually boast when it comes to the casino. Like, I really love the casino as much as Yuji Ori loves the casino, and whenever I reach it, I usually stop caring about the game plot for like 5 to 10 hours, easy. But by the way, fun fact, Dragon Quest X actually gave me the opportunity to prove my point about winning formulas being a thing, because it features the only casino in the series where you cannot reload your save state. So you need to know your stuff before you actually go all in.
You know what? That's what kept me from doing it about a year and a half ago when I played Dragon Quest X in May of last year. I went in there and I was gonna like do one or two of the things, and that thought occurred to me, like, oh my gosh, if I lose, this is it. I can't, I can't hit reset. And I was like, I'm just trying to finish up version 1. I'm not gonna risk it.
I used to abuse the autosave on that though, because you could at least like right before you walk in, and depending on the casino, if it's I think it's the one in Puerto Valor, then you have like a long hallway to walk down. But like,
hold on, you're thinking of 11.
Oh, I'm sorry. You weren't talking about 11?
10.
Oh, all right. Yeah, never mind. I'll stop talking now.
So what are some of the mechanics here that you've seen in 10 that work? The casino there.
Honestly, the Sugoroku, the Game of the Goose kind of Itadaki Street game that is featured in the Dragon Quest X Casino might be my favorite minigame in Dragon Quest ever. It is just so addicting. The fact you can play it with other people as well, so you're kind of playing a mini adventure inside your own adventure, and you need to go to the boss tile, and who knows, you might be able to beat it and get some sweet rewards, or maybe you're not even gonna reach it and you're falling behind at point. That's so much fun, seriously.
I can see that. They put that into Theater Rhythm, and oh my gosh, it's in that game. It's one of the 3 gameplay styles that you can do. There's one that's just open. You can pretty much play any song anytime. There's another one where you're kind of building onto a board. It's got all 10 games going horizontally, and you can build up. If you do the first Dragon Quest X song, then you can do the second, then you can do the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. But then the third gameplay mode is completely the game you're talking about, and oh my gosh, just going around the board, and it's more of like the Dragon Quest 3 version of it.
That game honestly sounds like so much fun. I never had the chance to properly play it, but a friend of mine actually has some success with it, and I think I should be able to play it sometime in a while too.
I mean, I played it knowing no Japanese, so I'm sure you'd get you would do a little bit better than me. But no, it was fun. I mean, I beat the game in a little, like 7 or 8 hours, but I went back and I just kept playing those boards because I don't even know how many there were. I want to say I was on number 15, but every time you unlock one, you unlock the ones like 3 under it. So I know there's like at least 18 boards. I need to get back to that and just see how many boards they have.
Yeah, it does sound addicting, just as I would expect it.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever worked on any translations before these, either games, manga, or novels? Hiru, let's start with you.
Okay, I think most of the Dragon Quest community actually knows me more for the work I did on Dragon Quest Rivals over the past 3 years or so. And that was actually a completely different experience from the Rubiss novel. And I'm very happy that I got to do both of them. The translation work for Rivals was very rigid, systematic even. You needed to establish your own keywords, your fixed expressions like upon defeat, X effect happens, or when this card returns to your hand, you do X, Y, Z. And keep in mind everything you worked on previously whenever a new set came out, and because you need to avoid contradiction between new effects and old ones, of course. And however, when it comes to novelization, you need to identify a certain narrative flow, There is no uninterrupted exchange for the most part, and the third-person narration is just as important as the direct speech that's going on, because it gives you both context and flavor. And this just doesn't exist in Rivals, because it's translating Rivals was like doing math, but with words instead of numbers.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I obviously those cards are very stilted in what they have, and like you said, it's a sentence here, a couple word phrase there, compared to thousands of words and a big overarching theme story.
It's a completely different experience. Yeah.
Cool. Alexi, how about you?
Well, worked might be a bit of a stretch, but for my master's degree, I had to translate like it was 2 or 3 pages of a book, if I remember correctly. and I know I worked on a passage at the end of the novel Long Barrow, a Doctor Who novel by Mark Platt, and I think that's the thing that made me think, hey, that's nice, and that's something that I should like to try doing more often. So that's about it.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right, so that's a little bit about our guests tonight. We're going to obviously hear a lot more from them, and especially Alexi right away, because we're going to talk this collection, this Dragon Quest Item Monogatari, and specifically the Sword of Kings chapter that he translated for the fan community. And we'll start with that, and I'm going to just, Alexi, as spoiler-free as possible, would you be able to summarize the story from the Sword of Kings?
Sure. It's spoiler-free. Okay. It's a story which actually takes place sometime, I don't know how long exactly, but after the novel that Hiru is translating.
Mm-hmm.
And it features a certain character from this novel, and it's humanity facing the consequences of their greedy actions in the Dragon Quest universe.
Mm-hmm. Have you read the novel that Hiru's working on?
Started it, but haven't finished it yet, and I'm sorry for that,
Okay.
Hiru. It's on my to-do list for sure. I'm fixing on doing that as soon as I can.
Mm. Yeah, there are definitely different perspectives on Rubiss and different times as well. So what inspired you most about these stories to take on this particular project?
Well, I think I got interested in that because to begin with it was short. It's like 15 pages long, worth of text at least, and the size made me think that that's something I could do that wouldn't take too long. I would see the end quickly. But other than that, is because, well, as I said earlier, I really got into Dragon Quest with builders, in which Rubiss is maybe the second most important character of the game. And seeing a story taking place a long time ago, and having elements like the new empire, which is something that we also had in France and I think in Italy as well, in the Emblem of Roto manga, which also features the fall of Mew.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to me to see the parallels, the differences, and the similarities between these two narratives.
Oh yeah, there's definitely. Flipping back through it a little bit today, because I'd read your chapter a while back, and today finished up the first part of the novel. That I was like, oh yeah, this was mentioned in the Item Monogatari. Oh yeah, this was too. So interesting. How many chapters are in the book that you're getting these from?
I think there's 12 of them, and I'm working on. Sorry, yeah.
So, do you think long term you're going to do all 12?
Not necessarily. In the end, yes. Not. But
okay.
I don't think I will do them all at once or in the correct order, because I recently found out that there's another book, Monsters Monogatari, which actually has some chapters happening before and or after chapters from Item Monogatari. And
wow.
Yep, I think I might be switching from one book to the other every now and then.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to get your take on the read order for the Monogatari verse. So, are there any challenges you had to overcome while translating the Sword of Kings?
Yes, one major one, I think, which Hiru may not have had because he actually studied Japanese, which I haven't. I can't read it. I don't understand squat about it. However, it was something that I wanted to try for a long time now. It's the OCR, I think, the text extraction applications and devices, because in the master I did, we have all this class lessons about how the translation work was going to evolve over the years because of AI and stuff like that, doing more and more of the work. And so it was interesting in that in this case to see how a mix of DeepL for the most part and of Google Translation for maybe more specific words could come in hand, trying to understand something that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to. But I was also lucky to have some kind of background thanks to Emblem Photo when it came to certain events or characters. And I was, of course, really lucky to also have joined the Discord server in which Hiru is too, because I was able to have some of the translation, verified in a way. Like I got to ask people who learn Japanese, who studies Japanese, to guide me and to give me really good feedbacks on word meanings and interpretations, possibly all these things. Also, there were pictures, and which helped a lot.
Yeah, it's actually so useful to have people you can ask help for, or even if you don't really need help, because maybe you know both languages, you just ask for an opinion on a specific translation, a term, a sentence, the flavor it has, because it's not really mechanical. It has to have a soul. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times. I know just yesterday I was making a bunch of perler bead art, and I just kept firing off pictures to a Discord where I knew I had a couple friends that were fans of the same football team, because I was trying to make ones for my football team, and I was like, should I do the arm this way? Should I do the numbering that way? At the end of the day, I still picked what I wanted, but just that firing off and having someone to listen and discuss that with.
Yeah, it's nice to hear the opinion of others. Yeah.
So, Alexi, we understand you are almost done with the next chapter that you're translating, and for those of you listening, if it's into September of 2021, it might be out there soon. What's the next chapter that you've got almost complete, and can you tell us anything about it?
Yes, sure. So I'm working now on the 11th chapter of Item Monogatari, which is about the armor of Erdrick.
Okay.
It's what's convenient about Item Monogatari is that each chapter is independent. They are not coming in a chronological order. So I get to pick those I really like the most first. And this one is about an item of Erdrick, which is which is part of the myth in a way of Dragon Quest. And the 11th, what I can say is that it takes place sometime not too long before Dragon Quest 1, and that's it. The French translation is over, and I've started working on the English translation now, which should be much faster.
Awesome. So you start off with the French version, and then you already have kind of a sense of what the translation is, and you're able to more easily translate it into English.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So I noticed that there's a Hobbit in this. Now, is that a direct translation, or was that some kind of Tolkien-inspired ad-libbing?
No, I was surprised actually to see that it was an actual name used. I think it was Obito, something like that. I suppose it could sound, but yeah, it was written Obito.
Interesting. Yeah, because I have not seen Hobbit used very much, if at all, in the games. If I'm just Platy, do you remember if you've seen that before?
I mean, there's dwarves.
Yeah.
I think would be the closest, but like a true halfling or something, not really.
Right. Yeah, no, I just thought that was interesting because we hadn't really seen that before in many of the games.
Yeah, 10 is probably the closest you have with elves, dwarves, and ogres, and etc.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very Dungeons and Dragon-esque setting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was one in Dragon Quest 3. Maybe the one living in the mountain. I think soon after or before the paper quest. I think, or maybe it's in the fourth Dragon Quest. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't really remember either, but I'd have to go back and kind of keep an eye out for something like that. So why don't we review what we found interesting about these? Platy, you want to go first?
Yes. So I know, Alexi, you made the decision to include the official artwork with the piece, and I've seen Hiru mention it somewhere else why he didn't. But was there ever any doubt with you about including the artwork from like a copyright standpoint?
Actually, I never thought about that.
That's fair, yeah.
I hope I won't get into trouble because of that. But I don't know actually. I found the book on it was archive.org, I think, and I assume that because it's available on the net, it's maybe not free to use, but somehow in a gray area. But since I'm not making any money out of it, worst case scenario, I'll get a cease and desist from Square Enix. I don't know how it works.
I think there's a lot of other people using a lot of other stuff. We would probably get nailed for the music on our podcast before that. But okay, no, it was just I know we'll ask Hiru about that too on his, but that was just something. It added a little context to some of the scenes, like you had said.
Yeah.
So
I liked how it talks about like an ancient pre-Alefgard people, the Mu or the Mew, and both books are actually pretty reminiscent of Greek mythology. In particular, this one, the Item Monogatari, was the most glaring. Was with the arguments and politics of the gods as they planned to negotiate and potentially wipe out the Mu people and rebuild the land, and just the interaction and negotiation between the gods was very, very much Greek mythology inspired. I also loved how like 80s manga the artwork looked, with full on unapologetic cleavage in nearly every picture.
Yeah.
I don't think those outfits are very supportive at all.
Oh, the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, was this 90s? Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Well, Alexi, anything else you want to say about your translation efforts or upcoming or anything about Item Monogatari?
Maybe one thing about Item Monogatari that I found out not too long ago, and again might fall within the Monogatari verse, because I found out that there's another Enix game called 46 Okunen Monogatari, which is a game which I definitely plan on playing, because there's, I think, an English fan translation of this game. And what I found is that, first of all, there's the Dragon Quest Overture in the game at some point. If you do some action against a very specific enemy, which is like a dinosaur plays music. But there's also characters which have the exact same, how could I say, design and face than characters from the characters that appears in the Sword of Kings chapter, mostly Gaia, and I think someone we see at the very, very end is I think lady with horns and yes, this game. Yeah, it was just interesting. I suppose it's just the same artist, but seeing or both Mitra look alike, the lady at the end look alike, the old Dragon Quest Overture, but also one of the ending of the game has the character evolving through time and becoming kind of bubble slime in a dungeon-esque setting with characters, well, who could, I don't know, in a way, who do like pretty fantasy-ish kind of Dragon Quest.
Mm-hmm.
I found it interesting.
That is pretty interesting. I'm going to put a link to this in our show notes because I just I found a little article about it and I can see the pictures. I can see Gaia and they named this one Lucifer.
Yeah.
It calls it the article I'm reading calls it sort of a vampire Marilyn Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
With the blonde hair, like the little image I found, it does look like that. And yeah, there's spacefaring elf civilizations and
Godzilla.
I threw some pictures in our Skype chat here, but at the same time, I'll put a link to this article in our show notes. So for those of you listening along at home, if you want to check out that game that Alexi just talked about, you can. All right, Liam, should we move over to a little bit earlier in the DQ Universe timeline?
Yeah, let's talk about the Legend of Rubiss.
Yay!
And here we'll have you start off in as spoiler-free as possible, kind of summarizing this section of it. I know, for those of you that haven't looked at either of these, the Item Monogatari was a one chapter of a larger volume, and it was about 15 pages, 16 pages. The Legends of Rubiss Part 1 here in A Distant Eden is about 170 pages.
Yeah,
So,
it's nothing. It's nothing.
It's nothing. So you don't have to get into all the characters or anything, but just kind of an overview. What does this first part? What is it about?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I might go off on a tangent, so if you have to stop me because of time constraints, feel free to do it. But I feel it's very important to establish the source material before we talk about the story itself. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to give you a brief introduction on the background before we move on the real summary. Okay, so the novel I'm working on is known in Japan as Seire Rubiss Densetsu, literally meaning the Legend of the Spirit Rubiss. Seire Rubiss is the way the Japanese canon always refers to the character ever since her first appearance in the games. And I think that's important to keep in mind because the world building for this whole story, the whole premise, is heavily based on the fact that before acquiring her goddess nature, Rubiss was just a young girl and a part of a society of spirits, which might surprise a lot of people who just played the games. Did you know that?
I had no clue. Yeah, all I knew about her was she was the spirit in a few different games that, comes in and guides you along, brings you back to life, and Builders 1 sets you off. They
really go heavy on this spirit. It's almost like a title, like you, for example, Zoma goes like Daimaho Zoma in Japanese, the great demon lord Zoma, and that's how they always refer to him because they want to emphasize the fact that he's a demon lord among demon lords.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that there's more than one out there, but we're talking about the big guy here.
So the novel was published in the early 90s by Enix as part of a series of novels based on Dragon Quest material. I think they cover up to Dragon Quest 7, if memory serves. And this one specifically was written by Saori Kumi, who also served as the novelist for the second trilogy arc, so 4, 5, and 6. And she was the one who gave names to some of the main characters, like Ryuka for the Dragon Quest V protagonist, who later became Luca in the Dragon Quest Your Story localization. So she has some kind of a legacy that still lingers in the Dragon Quest universe.
Okay.
About the story itself, it is very unique in nature because when it was first released, Enix specifically stated that the events were canon to the first trilogy, and no matter how you slice it, that's a very big, bold statement in the grand scheme of things, because it's actually the same approach they're taking nowadays with titles like Final Fantasy VII or Nier, when you have these novels giving you additional side information that is deemed canon to the main story, right?
Yeah.
So, about the plot itself, we have 3 volumes. It goes without saying that the first one serves as the introduction for all the characters you're going to spend time with. And there are many of them because the story doesn't really focus on Rubiss all that much. You get like the first 40, 50 pages establishing her status. She's just a 15-year-old girl who longs for freedom, but she's stuck in this political system that makes it impossible to grant her wish, basically. Then she takes part in what I can only describe as a fateful encounter that takes place during the town festival. And from there, the story perspective shifts continuously, presenting new character after new character and follows different portions of the story throughout their eyes. So the main question you have reading this is just, will Rubiss be able to escape these chains? And since you actually already know the end game of her journey, how will she become the goddess you are familiar with from the games? That's basically the plot line.
Okay. Yeah, I did notice that while reading it, yeah, it starts out very Rubiss heavy, and then you go many, many dozens of pages without even hearing of her again.
Yeah, you literally got the Book of Genesis after the Rubiss portion of the story.
I didn't realize until the end that you had your own little appendix with describing who these characters were. I was like, oh man, I should have flip flop and forth between that a little bit more.
At the very end. Yeah.
Just a sentence or two about a lot of the main characters.
So what inspired you most about this novel to take on the project?
So back in February, I think it was, I acquired all the physical copies of the Dragon Quest novels, mainly because of collection purposes. I wasn't really thinking of doing anything aside from reading them, I'll be honest. And I was interested in making the Rubiss novel specifically a possible pet project of mine, but at the time I was still very busy with Dragon Quest Rivals. The announcement for the game ending its service would come the following month, I think. And I still had this very tight schedule with one main card set about to be released and 2 more on their way, summer events, character skin guides. It was just impossible to think of doing them simultaneously. Then March came, and with it the news that Rivals was about to end. So I wasn't necessarily sad about this. I told to my friends, and they won't believe me. I don't know why. But my first thought was actually, whoa, now I'm going to have some unexpected free time on my hands. What can I do with it? And I see the first volume of the Rubiss novel sitting on my desk, and you can probably imagine the rest.
Well, lucky for us, Rivals was gone, so gave you some free time. So yours is... It's not as broken down as Item Monogatari with separate stories. These are all stories that will be part of a greater narrative and are part of a greater narrative. I know I saw somewhere either on one of the Discords or maybe a note at the beginning or maybe just in talking to you before online, you made the decision not to include the official artwork with the piece for copyright reasons. You were just like, maybe this will keep me completely out of trouble or whatever. How much art was actually in there, though?
So since this is actually a light novel, so it features about one piece of artwork every 20 pages or so. There is a lot of art.
Wow.
Plus the covers, and it's all from a very famous artist as well. So I was very scared of using them, and I actually opted to commission a new cover for the first volume and for the 2 volumes that will come as well, and not include the inside art in in the main text.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the cover right now, and you commissioned that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Interesting.
Rubiss looking down on the festival there.
Yeah, I really wanted to convey the first portion of the story throughout the cover of the book. I really wanted to give it the feeling of an old narrative book.
Mm-hmm.
So who was the artist that you commissioned for that?
She goes by the name of Miracle Gummy on Twitter, and you can probably check her profile out because she's one of the very few people I follow on the social media platform. So if you should be able to find that pretty easy.
Okay. So I noticed as I was reading this that sometimes with the dialogue and everything you'll have just quotes that kind of go back and forth, and some of it is unattributed. So I had a little bit of trouble following who was speaking. I was curious to see if that was a stylistic choice to leave many of the quotes unattributed, or was that a literal translation?
You could say it's both of them, actually. It was my first time working on a novel, so I did a lot of research before even approaching the translation process. And the original script forgoes, like you've mentioned, the attribution in order to explain who is the one talking in the very next paragraph, which is a very common trait in Japanese light novels that puts this media right between a full-fledged book story and a three-article script. So I kind of wanted to keep that feeling in my translation as well, since the direct speech going on is never on a level so convoluted that you can lose track of who's talking. It's very fast-paced for the most part. Unfortunately, the way the Japanese language works, said structure felt a little bit too stiff to be used in an English environment, so I had to rework the whole thing in order to sound more natural.
Interesting. Yeah, it definitely takes some getting used to when you're first starting out reading, and then it just becomes kind of like a natural flow of the novel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely part of it, and such a large cast of characters. I think I'll jump ahead right here for something I noticed about it. But this is almost like similar to reading one of the appendices that Tolkien had, because you don't have slimes in here, you don't have Erdrick, you don't have all the things that when you think of Dragon Quest, you really are like, oh, this is what would be in a Dragon Quest novel, right? All the monsters, all the maybe one or two of the heroes or something. But you're talking way in the past, and while it's Rubiss, there's really nothing else when you're reading it that screams Dragon Quest at you. But I mean, like I said, just like picking a random appendice from Tolkien, you don't have Bilbo or Frodo or anything in those either. So it's that what makes up the lore of the game, which is pretty cool. I mean.
Yeah, of course. There are very few familiar faces in the story, but that actually has its own meaning the more you go deep into the story itself.
We'll have to await that.
Yes.
So now I will ask the question that was next on our list here. So what took you longer, doing 170 pages of this first one, or all the rival cards you awesomely let Woodus put up on the den?
I would say the rivals card took way more time.
It's all right. That's right. I'm guessing both are countless. I wouldn't even ask you to put a number there. But okay, that was my joke question. Go ahead, Liam.
Nice. Well, I wanted to review what we found interesting about this one, as we did with Item Monogatari. But Platy, you kind of touched on your interpretation of this as almost like an appendices from Lord of the Rings. Do you have anything else you wanted to mention about it?
Oh, sorry, me?
Yep.
I was actually looking at the cover art again. I had my iPad out and I was trying to look at little details in the cover art. Sorry. No, I'm good. You can go on. I did get to the end, and yeah, like I said, I found the names at the end. I was like, oh man, I know I actually fast forwarded to the end at one point to read Hero, you've got a bunch of notes there, some translation notes, and I'd read them, I think, even before, or some of them before, but then I missed backing up like 6 pages and seeing the cast of characters. When you release your next part, that's something I probably will like print out and like have next to me. And the perspective changes a lot. Like this is setting up everybody, as you said. It's, you know, yes, it's mainly Rubiss' story, but there's a lot of characters that each get like almost 8-10 pages in a chapter about how they relate to this world and what's going to happen in the world.
In the very final chapter, you get one cliffhanger, but it's not just that one cliffhanger that keeps you going, I think.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely an interesting read and not what I expected. Actually, neither this nor Item Monogatari is what I expected, but it definitely draws inspiration from Greek mythology, most notably the inspiration for many of the character names. There's also Shakespearean or Shakespearean influences of disguise going on with the whole dress up and hidden identity at the party. You know, Shakespeare would also often use that device to expose deeper character development in his comedies, where a disguised character could listen in on others talking about them or hear things that they otherwise wouldn't have, had their identity been revealed. I also got a very like young adult lit feel from it. Rubiss is a teenager. She kind of reveals her innermost anxieties, and you feel the weight of that social pressure and the ritualistic experiences, or the ritualistic expectations, rather, on her. It's not what you would expect from the mysterious goddess that we only glimpse in the games, starting with Dragon Quest II. And finally, at some point, it was reminiscent of a steamy romance novel. I was reading through last week and ended up sending a couple of steamier clips to Plattym, if I may quote, if you want to see my face, then lick it away. Like a dog. I'm sorry. What was that? You know that you look like you desperately want to be kissed right now. What about you help me a little for once? She realized that up until that moment, she had her lips slightly opened and her full body leaning forward, and her face suggesting that she had been indeed wanting a kiss. The afterthought made her blush visibly. So yeah, it was getting a great moment. It was getting a little steamy at parts. So yeah, there was I think like 3 or 4 things that four things: the Greek mythology, Shakespeare, like young adult lit, and then romance novel feel that I was getting from it at times. You know what? That is
a very smart observation. I bet your knowledge is almost as good as your buttonall.
Oh yeah, that was the other one. That was the other one I sent to you.
Yes, it was.
They're talking about Rubiss, I think, and then you say like, see, her knowledge is almost as good as her butt and all. You know, that's part of that kind of like Shakespearean comedy where like she wouldn't have heard that at all if she hadn't been like in disguise.
You know what? For a work published in the early 90s, that was very wild.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Outside of a just a specific steamy romance novel literature section, yeah, just having that thrown into here. It makes it noticeable. We'll have to see what comes in future volumes.
Yeah, of course. It's interesting you brought up Shakespeare because, you see, as far as the narrative structure of the novel is concerned, the novel itself follows a very classic 3-act Japanese structure known as Jouhakyu. It means introduction, breaking point, and acceleration. It's very typical of Japanese traditional drama, which may have give you that idea. Even plays and poetry have it. And the only sharp contrast there is with the Western counterpart is the latter consists of usually a structure of beginning, middle point, and ending, the classic journey of the hero thing, like. And it develops in clear steps rather than having its own mood, its own rhythm constantly changing. So with the Rubiss novel, you get to experience the side characters with ton of precious information to convey. Then you lift the page and you're suddenly in the shoes of the people who appear to be the villains of the story, and you say, what? And that's the acceleration, slow down, then accelerate once more kind of aspect of I mentioned earlier.
Awesome.
All right. Do either of you have anything you'd like to add before we get into our humorous little game here?
Yeah, I actually I know Alexi won't do it because I can feel he's being hesitant to bring it up, so I will do it. I will do it for him. The main reason we began working on these projects is, and I feel we share the same mindset on this, is because of the Dragon Quest lore. Like the original Dragon Quest lore, and by original I mean the one you get from the games, period. It's so interesting and yet so obscure at times. And it is obscure because a lot of the stuff it's actually explained in the side material, like spin-offs, novels, cross-promotion between games, data books, compendiums like the World Sketchbook for Dragon Quest IV, or even the Shirarezaru Densetsu series, which means literally the untold legends. The manga series like the Emblem of Roto, which has some crazy reveals at the end I cannot talk about, unfortunately. And all this stuff that is mostly available in Japanese and gives you so much insight and world building aside from the basic information you get from the games. You know what? Alexi has a timeline, a Dragon Quest timeline that is so extremely detailed. You can almost have a literal study of that timeline brought up to the topic of one of the episodes of the future episode of the podcast.
I had a lot of time, a lot of free time on my hand as a student, and yeah, I had to get some time. But yes, the Dragon. I've been like obsessed with timelines a few years ago. Mostly because I fell into the rabbit hole that was a Legend of Zelda timeline, and ever since I wondered, does Dragon Quest have one? And then I remember in 2017, I think, or 6, when Dragon Quest 11 released in Japan, I used to watch the Let's Play in Japanese. And it reached a certain portion of the game, I think the end of Act 2, I think, when there's... I wouldn't want to spoil Dragon Quest 11 for those who haven't played it yet. Well, a certain character does a certain action that has a big impact on the game. And when I saw that, I thought of this kind of like the... Of 11, kind of like the Ocarina of Time of Dragon Quest, and it opened a lot of narrative possibilities to me, which I thoroughly and yes, I keep the door open and I went, hey, worst case scenario, Square Enix will one day make like a kind of the Hyrule Historia, well, something similar but for Dragon Quest, which would be absolutely amazing. And because we had in France this Emblem of Roto manga that at the time most countries didn't have, I think the Italian and Spanish translation were released or started after the French one, if I'm not mistaken. And I intended to capitalize on this new law that was kind of unique. And what's absolutely amazing is that the Emblem of Roto has like one sequel, The Heirs of the Crest of the Emblem, which happens 25 years after the end of Emblem of Roto. There's one side manga, Dragon Quest Emblem of Roto Returns of something, Returns, period. But there's a third big manga in it, and it's the adaptation of Dragon Quest 7. Which was made by the same creative team as the Emblem of Roto and Heirs of the Emblem, and features characters from Emblem of Roto. And yeah, the side materials have just so many details and narrative connections that the game don't necessarily have. And so yeah, it was really fun to work on that, and I was certainly glad to start talking about that with Hiru. Which has some really interesting, who had a lot of interesting take on it, mostly. But we talked not too long ago about Raptorn, I think, from Dragon Quest 8, and how he talked about lots of things. It's really refreshing and liberating in a way to be able to talk about the law in to such extent with someone.
Yeah, sometimes he DMs me on Discord, and I can only imagine his voice being like, "Yo, have you seen the ending of the Emblem of Roto? That's some deep stuff."
Awesome. Well, segueing into more deep stuff, Platy, do you want to kick off Marry Thwack Puff Puff?
Oh yes, the deepest of all conversations. We haven't done this in a few episodes. We've I think we've taken a little seriouser attempt, but no, we're definitely going to do this today because we've got a couple people here that are fun and have listened to the podcast before, and they know what most of you listeners know. We're going to play Marry Thwack Puff Puff. Basically, if you think back to when you were like 13, 14, 15 years old, maybe a little older, in high school, you'd probably play a game, marry, kill, fuck, or whatever nicer version of that you want to say. But, we take three people, and we've got a list of three from both stories that we can play with. And you pick who you're going to marry, who you're going to get a puff puff from, and who gets thwacked. Although, as people have told us in the past, thwack is the group spell. But, oh well. Who's getting whacked? Who's getting thwacked? We're taking liberties with the spell casting here.
You could still cast thwack on a single character, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. These are some powerful characters here.
Yes.
So, that we're dealing with.
I'm thinking of
Liam,
Kirill
yeah.
with his multi-thwack. Eventually one of them works. Our first Marry Thwack Puff Puff goes to Alexi. So we chose each of these based on the book that you translated. So here are three characters from Item Monogatari, Sword of Kings. Who would you marry? Who would you thwack? And who would you puff puff? The suggestions are Elf Lady Ariel, Rubiss, and the Moon Goddess Minerva.
Well, I think I'm going to need the superior version of thwack to thwack the Moon Goddess Minerva, because she's nice, but she's not as developed character-wise as Rubiss. But also, from what she does and says in the chapter, she's smarter than I, and that intimidates me a great deal.
Good a reason as any.
And because you mentioned that Rubiss might be, as great as her intelligence or knowledge, I think I'll take a puff puff out of Rubiss. Because, quite frankly, an elf who knows a lot about not forgery, forge and smithing, stuff like that, hammering, that's just so rare that it needs to be not protected, but maybe married.
Hey, good points. Yeah, that is the smithing is definitely something. When you read Dungeons and Dragons and with Tolkien and everything, that's more left to the dwarves and stuff like that. You don't hear of the great elven blacksmith very often. That's a good question. Do you marry the goddess, or do you marry the skilled the skilled smith or forger? Well, I'll go next, just because I'm going to do the exact same three, but for all different kind of reasons. I'm gonna marry Ariel because elves live a long time, so as I get older she'll still be young and devoted to me, and can take care of me in my old age, and I'm still married to this hot elf. Rubiss, there's probably a lot of baggage there from being like this goddess and everything. You start messing with stuff way beyond your state in life. You see what happens in all the Greek stuff. Nobody's getting married to one of the gods or goddesses, so we'll get the puff puff and be happy with that little bit. And Minerva, she seems to be a redhead. No, we're just gonna thwack that right away.
I think I would probably just thwack Minerva by default. I would probably Puff Puff the elf and then marry Rubiss, because I like the concept of actually, if I'm hitting on my wife saying, "Hey, baby, you're a goddess," and now it's actually true.
Hero, do you want part of this one too?
Is it that bad that I actually share the same logic as Liam?
Ah.
Yes, it is
all
bad,
right.
but it's also acceptable.
Liam, I was just looking at the hair color on Rubiss there and was getting some definitely Nera thoughts and thought that's where you were going to go with that one.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's more like a kind of bluish green.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is the hair color she had in the original NES version of Dragon Quest 3.
Oh,
She changes hair color constantly. It's like the Princess of Moonbrook. I don't really know what her color is. The right one.
The Dragon Quest Bible somewhere buried deep in what is it? The homes of the producers and directors hasn't come to a conclusion on that, I guess. So long as she can turn into a dog, it's fine. Moonbrook's fine. All right, well, let's go the other way now. We have no visual cues to help us here. At least most of us don't. But Hiru, coming from the novel that you translated, I chose Rubiss again, of course, since this is mainly her story. Her fiery cousin, Alina, because she bursts on the scene right away. And then, probably by default here, there weren't a whole lot of strong female characters. But I figured I'd pick the wackiest of whack jobs. Perla, she's the head of the Metal Clan that makes the deal with the cursed shield so she can bear children. She seemed like wacko.
I was thinking so hard about what the third character could be because Rubiss and Alina sounds like very obvious, but like you said, there aren't many female characters in the story to begin with. So, yeah. So, I would say Twok Perla immediately, like now. Then, yeah, I think we go for Mary Rubiss, and Alina sounds like the Puff Puff type of person. Probably, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she comes off as the life of the party in that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll go exactly with you there, This time, Rubiss isn't the almighty goddess at this point. She's just like, maybe she's going to be head of her clan soon, or probably going to be head of her clan soon. So I'm good at marrying into that right now. And yes, life of the party definitely sounds like a good Puff Puff one. And Perla, woo! Yeah, she even her own husband is like spying on her, and like the things he was thinking, like, oh my God, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And some of the like the way he treats his children afterwards, and like the way she does compared to him, and yeah, there's some interesting stuff in that household.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say definitely Thwack the Cray Cray Perla. I would marry steamy romance Rubiss. And I would Puff Puff the fire spirit Alina, because it would be interesting to have a Puff Puff where my face I think the Puff Puff would be hot both literally and figuratively.
Yeah, we're kind of on the same page, I think. Yeah.
Actually, coming away from the Puff Puff with burn marks.
Explain that to your wife, Rubiss. Sorry, I was just out seeing your cousin.
Gotta keep it in the family.
So, Lexi, do you have any similar take or different take on those three?
Maybe different. I would for sure Twak Perla as well. However, I think I would marry Alina because both girls do have some. I don't know. It changes. It's I wouldn't say rare, but it's nice to change. And so yeah, for once I think I'd marry the buff one. And well, I think I would just Puff Rubiss again. Although I would try not to look too much of the hate she had in the novel, though.
Well, I'm glad we got to play that again, and we had to play it twice. Even better.
we got a deep literary discussion of Mary Thwack Puff Puff.
All right. Well, thanks both of you for being on here. This is great discussion. I want to open it up for you guys. If you have anything else you want to talk about these two, Hiru, if you'd like to share how far you are into the next gigantic portion or anything else, we'll give you guys some time here.
I forgot to mention that I had to stop working on the novel for a while due to some much needed vacation time, but translation. The translation work on volume 2, which is titled Ramya: The Wings of Fate, get hyped, will begin in mid-September, and I hope I'll be able to release it by the end of this year.
Oh, nice!
Right.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that Ramya is in the story too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it plays a very important role as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a question for Hiru. Because I wouldn't say I've read, but I've looked at the pictures of the seven. Because Seirei Rubiss Densetsu was adapted as a seven volume manga.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering how much of the how many volume of the manga would you say volume 1 of the sorry, how many volumes of manga that the first volume of the novel represent as a whole?
Oh, you mean how much it covers?
Yes, exactly.
You know what? I don't really know because I haven't read the manga yet. But don't kill me for that, please.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'll just send you the files.
I actually don't know, but I think the manga adaptation is not that long to begin with, and it should be the same story overall, just with some minor differences. Like, I know for sure there's one side character that it's not present in the novels, and it's a pet dragon, Rubiss says.
Yep.
I cannot remember its names. I really can't remember the name. Maybe it was just like dragon.
It was certainly interesting to see Rubiss having a pet talking pet dragon, which was also a female, if I'm not if I'm remembering correctly. Yes. It's a talking golden dragon who talks. Yeah.
All right. Do either of you have any other questions for each other? Liam, you got anything else?
No, I'm all set.
I think we're fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll wrap this up. That's it for this episode of Slime Time. We do want to, as always, thank our guests, Hiru and Alexi. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much, guys.
Us.
Thanks for having us. Yes.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you for all you're doing to bring this to. We got the French translations. We've got the English. Thank you for bringing these out to the Dragon Quest fans around the world.
You're welcome.
Our pleasure.
So, those of you at home, you might have noticed the only time we ever mention Patreon on our podcast is we say we don't use Patreon. We're just two longtime fans that want to speak about the game series we know and love so much. If you do have some money that you're just wanting to throw out, donate, whatever, consider sliding on over to the Dragon's Den at www.woodus.com/den. Click on support this site. Woodus has owned and maintained the Dragon's Den fan site for over 20 years. I'm sure he'd appreciate any donation. Or you can use his brand new Amazon affiliate link. You could see it pretty much at the top of every page nowadays. It used to just be there'd be some items on the side that you could buy through affiliate links. Nowadays, if you're going on Amazon to buy yourself a $2,000 refrigerator, you can click on that link and it still takes you to the same Amazon. And Woodus gets a little bit of the piece of the cut there. Doesn't cost you anything. You're still paying the same price, but he gets a little bit to help with server costs and maintaining the den.
To advertise with us, reach out to us at slimetimepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any comments or questions for us, you can find us on Twitter at Instagram, or Twitter and Instagram rather, at DQ Slimetime.
You should also consider in joining tons of Dragon Quest discussions at the Dragon's Den forums, one of the few remaining forums still around. You can find it on the Dragon's Den main page or go directly there at www.woodus.com/forums. I'm still there, less frequently, but you could also find us on the Discord server and the non-official yet kind of official, semi-official Dragon Quest Dragon's Den Discord server. The link's always in our show notes here, and you too can be there with both of our translators. They're on there talking a lot about what they're doing and lots of other Dragon Quest stuff. And Liam, I just took your line.
It's all good. It's all good. Go for it.
So we'd like to thank everyone that made all this podcasting possible, like Brian, a.k.a. Woodus, for the support of the series and this podcast and keeping the Dragon's Den's lights on for decades.
Thanks to Amanda Lepre and the Descendants of Erdrick for allowing us to use their music for our podcast. Descendants of Erdrick is a video game tribute band from Austin, Texas. Check them out and their most recent album, Advent, at www.descendantsoferdrick.com or on Twitter at @doferdrick, and check out Amanda Lepre streaming on Twitch.
Our thanks, as always, to Dwayne Bullock, our wonderful graphic artist, Dragon Quest fan, for making the awesome artwork cover for this podcast. Dwayne was on the original iteration of Slime Time many years ago, and he's been on many of our episodes. As always, you can check out more of his work at Dwayne Art on Instagram or find his website, dwaynebullockart.bigcartel.com.
And if you're looking for more Dragon Quest Slime Time, check out our earlier episodes on Dragon's Den, Anchor FM, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and more.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Dragon Quest Slime Time, sliming off.